Mr. Speaker and members, today is my grandmother's 103rd birthday. And her life is a testament to many facets of our shared history, Black history. Rosabelle Charity Price was born in 1919, which means she has witnessed both the heart-wrenching pain of history and the hope and progress of our nation. She was born when the NAACP was just 10 years in operation, but they were very busy fighting for civil rights. And she was 1 year old with the 19th Amendment being ratified, offering white women the right to vote. But for reference, it would not be until she was 46 when she could fully and equally access that right with the signing of the 1965 Voting Rights Act. She was born in a time when horses and buggies traveled dirt roads during the great influenza pandemic. She was born in a time when lynch mobs created fear and chaos in our communities. My grandmother was born in a scary, uncertain, and difficult time for people who look like her. She grew up under separate and unequal conditions in her schooling, but as a young mother of two sons at the time, the Supreme Court in 1954 ruled that separate but equal was unconstitutional. And a year later, Mr. Speaker, she hugged her two sons tight when young Emmett Till was murdered. She witnessed bus boycotts, sit-ins, protests, marches, speeches, and movements for change. But along with that, she also saw violence, the assassinations, the bloodshed, the ways that dogs and fire hoses were used in such inhumane ways, and brightly lit crosses stood for anything but the Christianity that she clung to so dear. She saw a country fighting with itself to finally live up to its own promise, but to make sure that that promise included her family too. My grandmother would acknowledge that she's seen progress over time, but she is also saddened that I am still fighting some of the same fights that she did. But she stands proud of all that she and her family have worked for, what they have faced, and what they have survived. And now, at 103, her story, my story, the story of Black people in America, that history is so uncomfortable for some that they would rather keep it secret. But I offer, Mr. Speaker, if we hide the struggles, then we are left with only empty wins. And she would say, you can't get to Easter without Good Friday. And that's where we can learn the beauty and power of telling full stories. You see, it's not comfortable for me to talk about how my grandparents endured ridicule, disdain, taunting, and threats of violence. It is not comfortable for me to know that men my grandfather called sir called him boy. It is not comfortable for me to talk about how this beautiful, strong, and faithful woman of God was afraid on a regular basis that her family would be harmed just because of the color of their skin. I do not talk about these things because they are comfortable for me. I talk about them to make sure that they stay uncomfortable topics. Because the day that race-based violence becomes comfortable for us to discuss is a day closer to repeating the worst moments of our history. The discomfort should not be avoided. That would be easy. And I offer weak. But if we stand strong and firm and face the discomfort head on, then maybe we can together vow that the next generations will never have to see what my grandmother has seen. Those events shaped my grandmother, and they've shaped every one of us who sat at our parents' and grandparents' feet to hear their stories. So today, I'm celebrating Black History Month by honoring my grandmother and everything she went through so that I could stand here today. And I'll leave you with this from one of her favorite moments, watching Vice President Kamala Harris be inaugurated as well. And that is in Amanda Gorman's inaugural poem, The Hill We Climb. And she says, "If we merge mercy with might and might with right, then love becomes our legacy and change our children's birthright. So let us leave behind a country better than the one we were left with." In honor of Roosevelt Charity's Price's 103rd birthday, she's done her part. Now I ask you, what are we willing to do so that our grandchildren can look back during our 103rd birthdays and say that their grandparents helped leave behind a country better than the one they were left? Happy Black History Month, and happy birthday to my grandmother. Thank you.